Hello, everybody. Welcome to Keep It Spiritually Simple. I'm your host, Sandra McGellis, and today, we're going over current cosmic and planetary changes with Dr. Nancy. It's going to be amazing. So whatever it is that you're doing, stop, drop, sit, connect with your breath. Let's tune in and hear today's topic, the Schumann resonance. What is it? Why is it spiking? Why are so many people feeling the shift? Let's get into the science, the energy, and the real life impact with Dr. Nancy, understanding the Schumann resonance and why our planet is doing what it's doing right now and why it could be affecting you. Welcome, Dr. Nancy.
Thank you, Sandy. It's good to be back with you.
Always a pleasure. We're going to switch it up a little bit and talk about some current punchy energies because a lot of people feel this. They don't have a name for it. They don't know what's going on, but yet they know something is happening. And I think the more they understand, our listeners understand, the more they could sync up and get better calibrated between themselves, what's going on the surface, and what the earth is actually doing.
Yes, well, it's we live on planet Gaia, Mother Earth, and so we're definitely going to be affected by what is going on within her and how she's affected by these forces coming in from deep space. So I wanted to first of all go into, I have some notes here because it gets pretty techy. High photon light is coming into our galaxy. Not just our galaxies, but all galaxies are being affected. And the causing light activation symptoms, also known as light activation experiences, where symptoms occur within the human body. And these are updating our DNA and consciousness. And it's also updating our viewpoints and causing awakening in many different levels on our planet. So that's kind of like the first thing I wanted to kind of mention. But okay, so what is the Schumann's resonance? So first of all, I'm quoting Dr. Xavi M. Ali, A-L-I, and I've been following his work for many years, and actually before COVID came to the planet. And so we've been having a lot of this going on. And some people will say that we went into the age of Aquarius on 12/12 of the year 2012. Some will say it was the winter solstice of 12/21/12. But around there, we went into this new era. We left the Piscean age, and then we've now gone into the age of Aquarius. So that's definitely planetarily and galactically, that affects us as well. But because we have more photon light coming in to our galaxy, it's affecting our solar system and actually other galaxies nearby. And so it's not just a phenomenon that we're experiencing, and it's not just humans, it's animals, it's birds, it's the fish, everything that's on this planet. So it's affecting them as well. So the Schumann resonance was actually, well, bear with me, there's like so much here on Dr. Schumann was the one who really came about, discovered it, and it was quickly, forgive me, I was looking at the Schumann's resonance today, and it's 43 power, but they say if you multiply it times 3, that's really the true power of the number, which is 129 today. And but for centuries it was 7.8. That was they see it as her heartbeat. And so bear with me. I'm trying to find my notes as to, I think it was in the 40s is when he discovered this.
Yeah, I think I read something about it was sort of guesstimated around the early 1950s, but then it started to be measured thereafter. And
Yes.
then like from the 60s on, it's been getting measured, but really up until the late 90s after the harmonic conversion. And then all in this, what you want to call the spiritual movement that we have, that the last few years since YouTube has taken off, more and more people are
Yeah.
talking about it, but they're getting their information from somewhere. They're not just, pulling it out of a hat and acting as if they're channeling it. The Schumann resonance is actually scientifically measured on a daily
Yeah.
basis. So when someone says, "Oh, the Schumann's doing this," they've looked it up, they figured it all out,
Mhm.
right? So I just find that anything that any of the other industries are studying, such as NASA and so on and so forth, when they talk about solar flares, all of those things are being measured by a specific, you know, group of people and placed out into general public information. So
Yeah.
I want to get to the science behind what people are feeling and all the things that you're thinking about that you've put together as being more of someone who's much more scientific, so that the audience can feel more coherent and feel more grounded and have a better understanding to connect with it.
Yeah, they actually, I'm looking at my notes and we'll go through my notes. And I think as I go through my notes, we'll go over, but I know they have three places where they monitor this. One's in Russia, one's in the United States, and I'm trying to remember the other country. I think it's somewhere in Europe. And, and that's where they measure the Schumann's resonance, because it may be a little different in, different parts of the planet. But
Mm-hmm.
so really, they're talking about here about the study of cosmic energy and how it affects planetary life. And the physicist Nikola Tesla said, one, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And the people who normally follow the Schumann resonance, which is the Earth's vibrational frequency and amplitude, is also referred to by the world scientists as the heartbeat. So, in other words, our planet, has this particular spin, and in ancient times it was calculated between 7.8 and 8.8 cycles per second on, according to way back when it was rishis and sages. They were realizing there was a spiritual, not just scientific, but a spiritual aspect to this. And so as Earth spins, events occur due to cosmic electromagnetics in concert with Earth's electromagnetics that cause strong activations at the depth of the planet. So as ages have gone by, like we have in the East, they will talk about these yugas and how these we have the golden age, the silver age, the bronze age, and the iron age, also known as the Kali Yuga. And so a lot of people are saying we're at the very tail end of the Kali Yuga, or no, we've moved into the beginning of the golden age. But because it's just the beginning of it, you're still feeling the overlap of the prior age you just came out of. So it's kind of similar to, you see a movie and it's in the early 90s, but it still has the 80s hairstyles. There's still that carryover. It hasn't completely turned into, then you see a movie that's done like in the middle of the 90s or late 90s, they have the more that type of hairstyle. So it's just an example of some of this bleed over that takes place. It takes a little while when you get into these eras before you really start to feel the effects, but you could start feeling the effects right away. And so I think that's a lot of what we're feeling. Um, and there's also talk of how Earth is moving in it spins, but it also moves. It's moving a little bit closer to the center, a little bit at a time. But as we move closer to that central sun, the sun that's in the center of, we're moving closer to that sun, which causes more photons because we're getting a little bit closer to it, but also that is radiating to us. And so there's different ratings. So they'll have like frequency and amplitude and strength and power. So there's different ratings. Like let's see, today I looked it up and the number is amplitude 43, the frequency is 8.2. Um, And that was as of midnight. I make them 1 minute after midnight. So it talks about amplitude, quality, frequency. And so the ancient Indian rishis called 7.83 hertz the frequency of Om, OM. And it happens to be Mother Earth's natural heartbeat rhythm. The Schumann resonance is named after Professor Schumann, who was involved in the early German secret space program and later paperclip, it was called Operation Paperclip in the United States. So the frequencies of Schumann resonance are fairly stable and mainly defined by the physical size of the ionospheric cavity. But we have the amplitude of the Schumann resonance does change and is bigger when the ionic sphere plasma gets excited. Ionic spheric plasma activation happens because of solar activity, thunderstorms, use of scalar plasma weapons, and HAARP. That's HAARP. And lately has been the light forces are clearing the plasma uh, anomaly. So when we talk about, well, who's clearing it? It's angelics, it's light workers that work with the planetary grid. It could be elementals. They also help with the planet as well. So yeah, I had to find out, okay, well, so I get in, I'm always checking to see kind of, because sometimes I'll wake up and my ears are ringing so loud. I was like, oh, the Schumann resonance must be really high today, So, and then I'll check it and sure enough, it gets pretty high. I mean, it's some of these numbers, I've had it, when I checked it, it was one time as high as, I think it was like 282. I mean, it's gotten close to 300, which is really a high number because for centuries we had it at 7.8. So that tells you there's so much activity going on with our galaxy right now.
Yeah. So do you think that most people, and especially those who are sensitive or hypersensitive, are feeling it more because the Schumann resonance relates to our alpha state? So we
Yeah.
feel the ebb and flow and we may not understand it. That's why I'm really hoping the show can help people understand why your physical avatar is being affected by the resonance of Mother Earth.
Yeah, we have like gamma and alpha and beta, all these different states. And so it's definitely affecting how we are going to feel. And
Mm-hmm.
it actually excites the I don't want to say neurological, but as
Well, the
far as,
nervous system, I'm
yeah, the
sure.
nervous
Yeah.
system. That's exactly right. So that's going
Mm-hmm.
to affect our emotions, also the physical form, the mental capacity of what's, the brain waves, that type of thing. And so when we talk about of these light activation symptoms, people will run into the doctor and they need to, if they have symptoms, get it checked out, absolutely. But a lot of times they're going in for tests and all this stuff, and the doctor's like, there's nothing wrong with you, and the person's like, this is not in my head. I'm really experiencing these. And so they don't really necessarily understand that what affects us in space affects us here on the planet. Like, for example, I run into this a lot where you know how when your GPS just wigs out and it just stops working? You're like, well, what happened? Where'd it go? And well, those are all satellite driven. And what's happening in space, if you've got dust storms or all kinds of solar CMEs coming in, which is uh, corona mass ejections coming from the sun, those are going to, those blasts of photons coming through is going to affect the satellites. Well, the satellites beam down to Earth, and which affects our satellites. We pick them up, and some satellites go offline. Some satellites, when they switch from one satellite to another, that can also affect the technology. So a lot of times, like if you're listening to a music and it goes away, well, it's all satellite based. So one might be switching off to switch on to another one, and that can affect where it cuts off. And then you have to kind of go back into that program and restart it, or the GPS just stops. And then 10 minutes later, it comes back on. Or so a lot of this, activity going on in space definitely affects us. We forget that a lot of this is all satellite based. Our telecommunications with our phones, cell phones, all this stuff.
Yes.
So, some notes here. It says when Earth's human residence has been activated, some science use the word disturbed as the molecular structure and atoms that are worked upon and all creation upon this planet Earth receives the same workings. Plants, animals, birds, insects, of course, human beings, of course. Everything on Earth has a type of consciousness or sentient energy, also known as life force, in varying degrees. So the human ego has taken center stage throughout many eras of time, and the consciousness of the collective humanity has altered peaceful coexistence and created strife and devastation to each other and the environment. So, in other words, due to the governing of the higher power source, whom a lot of us refer to it as source, is not to offend those persons who insist on giving the supreme creator a specific name. The suns and moons of all galaxies and their planets all have consciousness and have been prepared so to send forth certain energies and messages in periods of history. And that's one thing that people don't understand a lot of times or tend to forget is that Gaia, which is the name of our planet Earth, she is a consciousness. She is a sentient being. You know, a lot of these planets, these moons, there is a consciousness that has incarnated into these planets and these star systems, and we're living on a conscious being. And so when we have these volcanoes, um, she's purging. Yeah, and when we have a lot of these national, what we call nature that is affecting us, like earthquakes and things like that, that's her eliminating a lot of, I guess, negative energy that takes place on this planet, you could say.
Well, I think our natural heartbeat would be more coherent if we were more in tune with the consciousness of Mother Earth. And so a lot of these, what I want to call side effects and symptoms, could be eased a little bit by understanding the rhythm and how it's working with our own natural rhythm and connect in a more graceful way.
Yeah, yeah. It's it does affect the mind and the consciousness of, all the beings on the planets. And and also our DNA is changing. And so they talk about the concept of humanity releasing carbon density and becoming crystalline. That's been discussed in the spiritual circles. And the scientists have investigated what is actually seen as light beaming from some of the cells of certain persons with a high level of consciousness, a superconsciousness. Such persons are often yogis and mystics. However, the majority of mankind is letting go of the old philosophical notions and indoctrinated religious ideas, and which is creating this crystallization process. So, in other words, the higher knowledge, both spiritually and intellectually, is becoming crystallized, and the particles of Earth are being transformed as these particles in human beings as well. And so, this crystalline-like substance, which is throughout the planet and humanity and other aspects of planetary creation, is there's a time when humanity elevates to this level of brightness, which comes during the golden era. And and then people actually live longer. They say in the Bible Noah lived 900 years and he lived in the Bronze Age. So, but according to rishis in the East, they will talk about the Golden Age. You live 100,000 years. In the Silver Age, you live 10,000 years, and in the Bronze Age, you live around 1,000 years, and then in the age, the Iron Age, which is also known as the Kali Yuga, you live around 100 years. So it steps down because of the density, the negativity on the planet. And so going into this golden era, this golden age is definitely many of us, I think, will reincarnate just to experience what that's like to be in the golden age, since we went through the toughest age of all, the darkest age of all, which is the Iron Age. So, um, so basically, we've been invited to an elevation party that's taking place right now. It's everything's being elevated, and we're feeling the effects of it. And that's what's causing a lot of these light activation symptoms, because we're going like from carbon-based to crystalline. And it was said that back in the golden era that you had a crystal heart and you circulated light, and that's why you lived so long. Whereas, we have a muscle, that's our heart, and we circulate blood. But as time goes on and they get deeper into the golden era, that will change. The DNA and the structure, the crystalline structure of the human form will change to be able to, so it can live longer. So yeah, I wanted to talk about the ages. I think that definitely affects. We can go a little more into the light activation symptoms. Like right now, they're talking about some people are very energized by strong, more powerful X-class solar flares, and others are exhausted by them. And because everyone's wired differently. And however, the solar energetics, coupled with the energetics outside the solar system, are massive. And then everyone experiences extreme fatigue, headaches, back aches, ringing of the ears, dizziness, rapid heart rhythms, anxiety. So with these, they can be mildly affected or extremely felt. And so they were saying that if someone is relying solely on conventional, traditional, Western oriented medicine, then the person could be experiencing side effects of medication or medical procedures. But also, it could be an imbalance in the physical vessel. So, if the conventional drugs, they're saying really, if at all possible, to try to use as natural remedies as possible, especially because the body's very sensitive right now with all these CMEs coming in, coronal mass ejections coming from the sun. And these are actually monitored by NASA and these other agencies. You can actually see the flares coming off of the sun. It's pretty interesting to watch them. And so at this time, everyone's invited to be transformed, regenerated, revitalized, and renewed. And because we do have a lot of light coming in, it's not going to stop. This is going to continue. It's going to continue to get stronger and stronger. So we need to kind of adapt ourselves and our lifestyle to be able to handle this change in the heavy photon, which is light, extreme light coming into our solar system and our galaxy. And of course, it affects here on planet Earth. Um, so either way, certain symptoms have to be contend with. And when light has been chosen, the symptoms are actually activations. So we're finding a lot of people can't sleep at night. And what's happening is when you're getting upgrades to your DNA, you know how when you have to reboot the computer when you're doing an update or an upgrade or whatever? Well, that's what that is. When you wake up at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you're getting your reboot. It's kind of like they have to wake this system up, and then you don't know why you've been woken up, and then of course you eventually get back to sleep. But it's basically an activation to the DNA. There's nothing people have to do. It happens on its own. You don't have to run off to somebody and they have to activate your DNA to get it higher. This is source energy that's activating us, that's doing this work. And so it's happening automatically. It's just a little bit easier for us if we get on board and start deciding to choose more of a path instead of to get along with the program and start working and activating our lifestyle in a way that's more conducive to a type of environment where we find ourselves in that's going to be more and more higher frequency. So those that choose to stay in a low frequency, it's going to be a little bit harder for them on the planet. But those that are realizing, expand your consciousness, raise your frequency, that's going to be a lot easy for you at this point to handle these changes coming in right now.
I totally agree. And I think, we're not able to completely match it, but we can harmonize to the best of our ability. And I like what you were saying about, work with yourself with more of natural things. And we just came off Thanksgiving. So a lot of people have been eating and drinking and consuming things that they wouldn't normally consume. We're going into holiday. And I know for me, Spirit was like, you don't need to rearrange anything. We just want you to add more root vegetables. We need you to be a little more grounded. So we just want you to simmer some small potatoes and carrots and maybe some cabbage and some onions and garlic and ginger and a little bit of habanero in there. So it's warming to the body. We want to ground your body. Don't worry about all the other stuff you've consumed. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just come back to a natural place just so you can harmonize with whatever's going on in the exterior world. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yes, and it's amazing you bring up these fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts, and so many people change their diet because they feel so much better when they eat food that's alive.
Yes.
And for me, soups is very nurturing and comforting. I
Mm-hmm.
can put all kinds of vegetables in there and spices. It is, and it has like this warmth to it, and yeah, yeah. So definitely. Um,
Well, I think the way to do that is if you're, first of all, if you're listening to a program like this, so you're learning a little bit more about the scientifics and also bringing in the spiritual about the Schumann and Mother Gaia and other things. And you may hear some nuggets that are like, I didn't realize all that. So now I can consciously set my intention to align better or differently than I had because I have this awareness now, which changes my perception, which then makes me want to harmonize because it feels so much better.
Yes, if you notice, our diets are changing. We have now these fruit smoothies, these juices. You can go a lot of places and soup bars and that type of thing. It's becoming more of a liquid type based diet. It's just easier to digest than these heavy foods that in the past we've had. And so it's that is another thing that really helps with the nutrition getting absorbed into the bloodstream. And it's, if you notice, it's again, it's usually plants and of varieties, fruits, vegetables, seeds, and nuts. And so, which we had talked about on a future show, that nuts are super high in protein. 10 almonds equal a steak in the protein
Yes.
level. So, but yes, they're high in fat, but that's not, it's plant-based fat, it's not animal fat. So it won't affect the arteries and capillaries and things and cholesterol of that type of nature. So, and we need the fats. I mean, you hear people getting on these fat-free diets, but your brain is like 85% fat. So you need the fats. Your joints need to be lubricated with fats. So, but what kind of fats is it? It's coconut. Is it coconut oil? That's a great one. Is it olive oil? That's a great one. So it just depends on what type of fat. And
Yeah.
so fats definitely are needed. It's just what type. And so I see more and more our diets we're getting more and more healthier options, and people see the benefit of what they put into their system and how it affects them. And even doctors will say, "Oh, you're vegan. Wow, you'll live forever." So even the medical profession knows, the ones that are really watching. And that's not to say you can't have pumpkin pie, on Thanksgiving, like you said. But
Yeah.
overall, I think it's definitely keeping the body at a balanced homeostasis level is really what helps feed the cells.
Absolutely. And I'm all for being a fathead. I am all for being a fathead. Give me some fat, let it go straight to my head. It's all good.
Yep. So we're basically having to level up in the height of a newer mind as light, as it soars through cellular network of records, performing cleansing and clearing. We're doing a lot of cleansing. We're doing a lot of clearing right now. I find that people are saying, gosh, I have so many memories coming back from when I was a childhood or a teenager, or different memories when I was a lot younger. And well, this has to come up to the surface in order to come out. So sometimes these are not always just negative experiences, but even positive, just kind of clear out a lot of this cellular memory. There's also cellular ancestral twines, ancestral bloodlines that's a part of our DNA. So that also could be cleansing these bloodlines where we come from that's been affected over the centuries by wars or famines and that type of thing. So we're working on more than just ourselves sometimes.
All right, so let's keep it moving. Let's learn a little bit more about this
Okay.
current cosmic and planetary changes and how we can adjust with more ease and grace and understanding so that more of us are standing
Yes.
anchored and balanced.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with performing spiritual practices, which helps the body and mind and creates calmness. You know, these solar flares, this solar activity is like this weekend, we got an X flare that's going to be is going to be affecting us the next 3 days. And these solar winds and these extreme solar winds again can knock out these satellites, which affects our life, but then it comes into our system. And oh, here's one thing I did want to point out is, which we don't even think about when we think about technology, and then we'll get into the spiritual aspect of it, is the European Union's Aviation Safety Agency and the United States Federal Aviation Administration have been told to update flight control technology because the incoming extreme powerful radiation will affect airplane technological devices. And some devices can be somewhat altered, but others have to be completely changed. So passengers, of course, are not being advised as to the reason why there's flight delays or cancellations. But in the aviation industry, you know, they understand about how planes must fly within a gravitational alignment with Earth. And when solar energetics create disturbances in gravitational and technological devices, they can be damaged. So, you know, we're talking about cell phones, laptops, computers that can cause major glitches during a high cosmic event storm. And so we just got over a super moon as well taking place. That creates a significant pull upon the Earth. And then we have the planetary magnosphere, and which is our protective shield. And it's being again densely pressured with positively charged penetrating protons through the solar energetics. And so this is, we kind of have to realize that this is going to continue. So we have to kind of prepare ourselves if living in a technological time period that it's going to affect us. But getting into the spiritual aspect of it, it's known in that planet Earth has been unwisely tampered with in numerous human ways that have damaged the environment. And so there's a lot of cleansing that's going to be taking place by source. And so that is where we have all this light coming in. And it's also coming in from Sagittarius A, and which sits between 27 and 28 degrees at the center of our galaxy. And also from the photon belt, the great attractor, and other types of life-giving dynamics that will be upgrading our cellular records. And it also brings in these downloads for higher knowledge to be and that's what's going to turn on a lot of our psychic abilities, like telepathic abilities, which we used to have in prior yugas, prior ages. And but as we get more and more into a darker age or a density, these come offline. But now a lot of this stuff's going to be coming back online, which is going to be great actually, because then you're going to be living in an era where people can't lie to each other. because you can read them energetically and you can telepathically read them and their thoughts and what their agendas are, which therefore people therefore can't be deceiving of other souls. And so everybody plays at a level playing field and they play fair. Um, so in other words, we're becoming spiritual technology. And because the intuitive capacity and self-healing capacity and knowledge of the ancient truths become online, and so is our consciousness. So we have artificial intelligence, but we're actually going to be becoming involved in cosmic intelligence, CI. And that's the increased connection to soul, which is the higher consciousness, and spirit, which is the life force that pervades everything and is everything, which we also call it as source. So the central nervous system, we talked about that, is in most of humanity will need specialized care at this time, thus engaging in the grounding techniques. And the quickest way to ground yourself is just take deep breaths. The breath is the quickest way to ground yourself. Um, because we're going to have more strong solar streams and flares. So they're saying if you haven't developed a spiritual practice, it's a good idea to do that at this time now. Whether it's just be a mantra, going for a walk in the park, reading spiritual material, taking quiet time to listen to music, and just connect with your higher self, your soul, and have this time to just really connect with spirit. And there's just so many different ways that people can do this, and what works for one may not work for others. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go into a full lotus and meditate, because shutting the mind down can end up being a big fight. And so why not use the mind and read spiritual material or listen to spiritual material, whether it be on Audible, a spiritual book on Audible, or listening to spiritual music, or maybe getting out in nature and connecting with spirit, the life force through nature. I mean, there's just so many different ways. Some people sit and they do prayers and mantras. There's what I call different forms of meditation. There's like a walking meditation where you can walk in the park and be with the trees and the plants and the animals, and so it just goes on and on. So people, when they can at least find something that works for them, it just kind of reminds them, hey, you are a soul in physical form having a physical experience. And just kind of remember, just when you wake up in the morning, you're a foreigner in a foreign land. You're not from here. This is the Earth School. You just got sent to Cosmic University, and to learn your lessons, pass your tests, do your purpose work, that sort of thing. But don't forget who you are and where you came from, your origins. And I think that really helps calm the nervous system. I think it helps remind us who we are, that we are divine beings, and we're sent off to the Earth School. And so it kind of just keeps us remembering. And therefore, I think that really does have a calming effect to us.
Well, I'm in agreement 100%. And if you're okay, we can just take a moment to do a little breath technique that I like to share
Of
with
course.
others. And so for you listeners, get yourself in a comfortable place right now where you could just sit down or stand in the corner or just tune out some of the chaos around you. And let's take some sensories out of it. Close your eyes. Just get your balance. Know that you're in a place where you are safe. And then I want you to consciously take your mind to your breath and work your inhale through your nose and out your mouth. And let's just do that a few times while we feel ourselves settling into our bodies. Inhale through the nose Just slightly open the lips and let the air out. Now, if you'll just take a moment here and just think of something you're appreciative of, what you are grateful for. It could be that you have a place to stop, drop, sit, and become aware of your breath. It could be the beauty of your family. It could be, I'm so grateful for my car to get me to and from work. I'm so grateful for my two hands and my 2 feet that provide my body with balance and able to take steps forward, backwards, or sideways. Whatever that thought of appreciation or gratitude, just bring it forward in the conscious mind. In this time, as you inhale through the nose, slow it down just a little bit, maybe to the count of 4. And when you've come to the top of that inhale, pause to the count of 4. Just feel that air expanding through your lungs and opening your mouth just a little bit and exhaling even slower, maybe to the count of 5. Just get yourself in that rhythm. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now pause it. Just pause. Keep that air in that lung region. Open your mouth and exhale slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's do that again while you count in your mind's eye. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 1, 2, 3, 4. Open the mouth and exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you gradually build up to counting in and the exhaling out and the pause in between, in your mind's eye, say, I am aligned. I am safely held in this space, in this place where I am in this moment. I am connecting intentionally to the living pulse of Mother Earth. And as we cohesively find that balance, we become aware of our breath. And as we begin to open our eyes, we're continuing to breathe as we have reset the central nervous system. We've hit the override button. We've allowed ourselves to stop into that forefront, knowing full well that life is exactly as we have left it. But now we will move into it with more balance, more peace, expanding our creativity, our patience. We want to stay in that place of calm as we fully open our eyes and become aware that we just took a few minutes to reconnect ourselves into the place of appreciation and gratitude. And do this as often as you can throughout the day before you go to bed. And balance, call in Mother Earth and ask to help her harmonize and balance you in whatever other belief system that you are. So that's a great way to reset. So thank you so much for listening to that. So Dr. Nancy, what else would we like to add to this topic?
Basically, stay in the light, develop a spiritual life. That's really going to help you emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And yeah, thank you for sharing with the breathing exercises. That's another form of, spiritual practice. And it doesn't have to be, the same thing every day. We can mix it up and try new things, see what works, what doesn't work. Each soul is unique, and what works for one may not work for another. There's another one. So yes, definitely. Thanks for sharing that. And that's why I think so many people like the guided meditations. They can go off on these journeys, and it just kind of brings our body back, calms the body down, the nervous system, and also reconnects us to source, the divine essence that's in all and within all and is all.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yes.
so instead of being caught up in places of fire within the body, you're spreading the heat when you're doing the breath, and you're just allowing that heat, that oxygen, that life force energy to just allow things to flow so that creativity can grow. And what better place to just take a few minutes to do that and step into your light, as you said, and visualize that breath and be grateful for the water molecules that are in that breath. Each breath, just see this effervescent nutrient inhale of whatever color you want to give it. Breathe it in and breathe it out, and just feel that. And then I guarantee you, when you start doing some of your grounding practices and some of the things that Dr. Nancy has mentioned, you may feel them more amplified because you're super conscious of them. And so now your intention may swell, and you may create some other sidelines to that that are unique and work for you in each given moment of the day. Yeah.
Yes, when you talk about grounding, there's another one that the Native American Indians use, and that's they take their shoes off and they walk on dirt and grass. So they actually energetically connect their system with the earth. And because we wear mostly rubber-soled shoes, and that insulates us, so we're not able to really ground. And so a lot of this electromagnetic technology that we're always being exposed to doesn't have a way to dissipate and release from our bodies. So actually swimming in the ocean, getting your feet wet when you walk in the ocean, the salt water eliminates the electromagnetics from cell phone towers, cell phones, all this type of things. And we know this because if, let's say, you ever have a hotel key and you stay on the beach and you forget to put that, if you put it in your pocket, because men a lot of times will put it in their swimsuit, women will put it in a bag, and then it gets exposed to the ocean water, the salt water, and it gets demagnetized, and then they go to get into the room and it doesn't work. The magnetic strip has been demagnetized. So what is that doing to the body, which is fantastic. So swimming in the ocean is good, or even just taking your shoes off and getting your feet wet. If you have access to the beach, that's a great way to demagnetize the ground, and it helps your not just your physical form, but your actually your electrical systems, all the systems really, it really helps them. So grounding, but when you live in mountain regions, you just take your shoes off and connect to the earth, whether you walk on the grass or the dirt, and that will eliminate. The American Indians would say that this eliminates a lot of problems within the body because these electromagnetic field builds up, um, and we have a natural electromagnetic field around us. But what we're talking about is the artificial type from cell phone towers and cell phones and that type of thing. And so that can affect us physically. And so that affects our nervous system as well. So that's the technique. So if you live by the beach, you have a way, or if you live out in the mountains, you have a way to ground yourself as well.
Well, I love that. And I'm all about do no harm. So, sometimes we get out there on the ground, we're like, okay, I'm going to rebalance. I'm going to dump all my shit right on out there and, get recalibrated and so on. And I look at it as an exchange with Mother Earth, no matter what it is. It's a tree, a bush, moss, grass, dirt, whatever it is. I'm doing an exchange, with them and thanking them so much for helping me turn over. But they need that conscious body, that energetic body, for its life force as well. Mother Earth does. So it kind of churns and turns all of that. Now, for me, sometimes I go outside and I have every intention of grounding. And then I think, oh, did a dog poop there 20 minutes ago? Or did a dog pee here? Or this or that I think of. And so sometimes I take myself to a specific place where I know it's a little more less inhabited by animals and people. And then I'll take my shoes off and I'll just sit on the bench and meditate and have my feet on the ground. And when I cannot, I will sit in this chair and I will visualize my feet in like, I could feel the texture of moss and I could smell it. And so I'm doing it also with my mind as well. And like what you said about the ocean and the cleansing of the ocean, even if you are to take like an Epsom salt bath or a sea salt bath, you can just visualize that water as if you're in the ocean and just allow yourself to do this exchange. So Mother Earth is being harmonized and you're being harmonized at the same time. It isn't doing it for you. You're doing it with it in collaboration. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents on it.
Oh, yes. Yeah, visualization is very powerful. And they have found that it's our thoughts are it's let me see, let me get this straight. It's the thoughts are electrical and the emotions are magnetic, and then you have the physical aspect of the body. And so when you're talking about the power of the mind, it's really, really very powerful. In fact, that's why that whole placebo effect works so well when they do these controlled studies. And they give people sugar pills and they tell them, oh, you're taking this medicine, and they get better. And so that tells you the power of the mind. So visualization is very, very helpful with calming as well, and helping our nervous system, calm our nervous system.
Well, Dr. Nancy, current cosmic and planetary changes. This has been a great episode. I so appreciate your insight. I hope that our listeners have a better understanding of Mother Gaia, from your point of view, and also from the scientific point of view of the Schumann resonance. There's been some nuggets here to help you just quickly align yourself that are free to you to do at any time. And, if you need more, reach out, leave comments down below. We can answer your questions. And Dr. Nancy is a regular on the show because she's got 5 books out. She's got all kinds of things that we're going over right now. We've really been diving into plant medicine, and we're going to shift over to a few other things and then come back to that. So make sure you hit like, subscribe, and share so you do not miss any of the upcoming episodes of Keep It Spiritually Simple. So, Dr. Nancy, I guess it's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
All right. We'll see you all on the next episode. Bye.